Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. It's called Using Google to Communicate to Your Customers, and is brought to you today by the City of Westminster and the WestyRISE Initiative in partnership with the North Metro SBDC. In just a moment here, I'll introduce our presenter today, but first I wanted to thank Westminster and the Westminster Economic Development Office and our partners Shelby Wood and Stephanie Troller for organizing this webinar, putting it together, and allowing us to present this information to you today. And I'd like to also thank our audience for logging in and spending some time with us here today. So thank you. A few logistics items before we get underway. We'll be taking questions throughout this webinar, and so you have a panel on the right side of your screen if you're on a computer. If you're on a phone, then you'll see a little question at the bottom of your screen. But we would encourage you to send in questions throughout the presentation. In fact, it'd be great if you're logged in right now and you're looking at your screen. I'd love it if you would go into that question window and just enter your name or your business name. Let us know if you're in Westminster or where you're watching from. And if you have a question to start us off with, that'd be great. So you can test that out right now. That'd be really nice. Also, we are recording this webinar and we'll be posting it to the City of Westminster page this afternoon. And I will email you with a link so that you can have access to that video once that's up there. So that's great. My name's John Hovey. I'm the Special Projects Coordinator at North Metro SBDC. I'm joined today by Hannah Curtis. She's also a coordinator for North Metro SBDC. And our presenter today is Peter Brissette, the digital marketing dude. He's our North Metro SBDC marketing consultant. He's a proprietor of DMD Consulting, and he's been providing marketing consulting services to his clients since 2009. He's a longstanding partner of ours at North Metro and a well-known figure in Westminster as well. And so we're very excited to have you here today, Peter. You can also find out all about Peter's services on his website, dmdude.com, and we'll make sure to put some links to that in the show notes at the end as well. So Peter, what are we going to learn about today?
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. I did not realize I had notoriety in the City of Westminster. That's interesting. We're going to talk about the title. We tried to make the title pretty obvious what we're going to talk about. Trying to communicate with our clients. Really all the time, but in particular right now, there's some very unique nuances, I would say, during a pandemic on how we need to be communicating with our customers, and wanted to be able to show some of the easiest ways to be able to do that for each of the businesses in the area. So, and I was just looking at where everybody was from there a little bit, so it's great to see folks from the area. Most everybody looks like are local businesses. Looks like we'll have a couple questions in there too. You guys can pull out for me. So what I wanted to jump into first really is just showing you the simplest, easiest way to connect with your clients and communicate with them, and that's your Google My Business page. So this is your Google Map and information page that's free that you set up. You find it at business.google.com. Hopefully you've already claimed that. You already have access to that. If you haven't, do it immediately. Get that set up as soon as possible. Because what happens is when we're communicating with customers, it's what are they going to see first? And I'm going to share my screen here.
Great.
And hopefully everybody can see that. But I want to just show you here. Now that looks scary, but it's not. So this is my phone right here. You can see that I did a search for restaurants near me. And if you look here, the first thing you see is not some websites. What you see first is the Google My Business page. And you're seeing pictures, you're seeing reviews, you're seeing other data and information about those businesses. What hours are they open? What services do they have? That's the first thing that you see before somebody ever even sees your website. So yeah, should you be communicating on your website? Absolutely. But you also want to be using your Google My Business page. So again, here we see, let's see if I can get this thing out of my way so I can do this effectively. All right. Here we have the Google My Business page. Again, I went to business.google.com. If you're logged into whatever Gmail account that you use with that, you're able to see that information. This is just kind of the home area, gives you a quick overview. And we're just going to go through some of these basic settings. And again, anytime you have questions, just pop in and ask those questions, and the team here will interrupt me and let me know what questions that you have. The first thing I want to start with is actually this info section. This is kind of the core information that you want to add in here. So you have quite a few options in terms of category. So this is the first most important piece of this that you want to put in here is what is the primary category for your business? I've seen it happen frequently with many businesses that they actually have the wrong category set up so that when people are doing a category search, like restaurant, like fitness center, like plumber, they have a different category set up so they're not coming up in the search for that category. So you want to make sure in particular that the primary category is set up correctly on the page. You can add additional categories. So if you have other things, other services that you do, add those, but you want to put the primary category, what's the main core business that you are and that you have. You may not have additional categories, and that's fine, but you want to make sure that primary category is properly updated to the correct category. Obviously, your address. If you don't do brick and mortar, if you don't have clients come to you, the other option that you have is what's called a service area. So if you're a home services company like a plumber, you actually would not show a physical address on this page. You would add a service area, and you could designate by zip codes, by selecting a map and so forth, that you cover a certain area. So maybe it's the whole metro area, maybe it's the North Metro area. But you can designate the area of service that you cover and where you go to service your customers. In that case, you would not have an actual physical address. But again, if you want to make sure clients find you and they're coming to a physical address, you want to make sure that address is 100% correct. Sometimes too, the map configuration gets out of whack, and so it's not exact. So if you're in a shopping center somewhere, it's possible that you know, this little map icon is on the wrong side of the shopping center. So you can actually grab this map pin and move it wherever you want to within this area to make sure it's more exact. And so it's not unusual to see that happen sometimes with the business. So if you're getting complaints, people say, I can't find you. It's probably because this pin is a little bit off for some reason. You can just drag and drop that pin and make it more accurate. Let's see here.
Peter, let me interrupt you for a second. Christy is asking that if her business provides services virtually, is it smart to put an address in there or use the service area, or is there another way to designate that?
There's a couple ways that you could do that. So, you know, one thing that I recommend is getting, because if you're using your house, right, you're working out of your house, you really don't want to have your home address on there for the business. So you can see my address is 1499 West 120th Avenue, Suite 110, Westminster. That's actually a mailing address that I use at Intelligent Office. Teresa's on this webinar. You're welcome, Teresa. I definitely would recommend, if you want to have a business address, that's great. Get a mailbox, it's inexpensive, and use a physical street address, even if you're doing virtual, virtual work, which, all my work's virtual. Clients don't ever come to my office, but it just adds that legitimacy of having a business address at a business location. So there is benefit to having that, even if everything you do is essentially a virtual thing. Again, all my client meetings we do on Zoom. It's all, I can't say I've never had a client in the office, but it's really unusual to have clients in the office.
Great.
Your hours, of course. You can have different sets of hours if you do split hours for some reason, or in particular right now, maybe with the pandemic situation, you have broken up hours to allow time for cleaning and whatnot. So you can actually break up those hours and show that. This is really important. So I've been trying to engage with businesses in the local area, and one restaurant in particular, I will not name because you will know it, but I'm looking at their Google My Business page that says that they're open for lunch, and there's a big sign outside that says they're open. But then when I went there, they said that they didn't open until 4. But had they updated their Google My Business page, I would have known they didn't open until 4. So having your hours accurate, in particular if you're having clients come to you, is really important to have that updated. Days that you might be closed, so this is Labor Day coming up, you can see that on your phone number. I often will recommend to clients that we even put in a tracking phone number here. So a tracking phone number is just a number that you can get that will actually tell you where the calls are coming from. So then you can see from your Google My Business page a little more accurately how many calls that are coming in. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. This is a short link to this page. So if I wanted to send somebody to this page, you can actually make it a short link for that. So you can make this whatever you want and have that and use that as a short link to the page. Of course, a link to your website, appointment link. So if you're doing any kind of scheduling, you want to link to your scheduling calendar, or maybe you have a page on your website where you do that. If you are, a restaurant, for example, you're taking reservations, maybe open table or anything like that, you want to set those up here as well. And you can.
Peter, just to be clear, Rod's asking if you can add a link directly to your own website appointment scheduler. Can you do that in this appointment?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm using Calendly here, but I have a page on my site that has it too. So yeah, either way.
Great.
Then services. So there's really a lot that you can expand out in the services on here. So we've got quite a few categories that we've added in here for services, but there's really not a limit. I think there is a limit, but it's pretty broad, that you can create a lot of categories and add different services under each of those categories. So put as much detail here as you can. Again, the more that a client can see what you have and what you offer from this first interaction that they have with you, the better. And so that's an area, a section that you can really build out.
Before we move on too far, Peter, Sheila is asking an interesting question about duplicate listings. Does that happen? She says, how do we check, verify, and maybe merge duplicate listings?
Yeah, great question. Let me finish this section and then we'll talk about that.
Okay.
This is a brief description here so you can describe the business and your basic overview of the business. You can put an opening date and then we'll talk about photos here in a second. So let's answer that question if you have duplicate listings. So the simplest thing to do is just do a search on the business and see if multiple listings come up. It does happen sometimes. Essentially what you have to do is, and this is something that through the SBDC we can help you with a little bit. But essentially what you have to do is mark one of those businesses as closed, and then whatever is the main one that you have access to, to do that. If you have access to both, you can do that from inside here. So I can go into the settings in here and actually mark this business as closed, which essentially will delete it. And then you'll have the other one that you'll work with to do it. So you gotta get rid of one essentially by marking it as closed. It may show up for a little bit as closed, but once you have the correct one updated and you do the updates on it, then Google recognizes that, oh, this one's the good one and that one's not, it's closed, we don't need to show it anyway. And it just won't show up anymore. So that can take a little bit of time, but
merging is not really possible. You got to get rid.
There's not a methodology to merge them, unfortunately.
Elizabeth wants to know.
It's kind of weird that you have to mark it as closed in order to get rid of it, but that's the methodology that they asked you to do.
Excellent. Another question came in from Elizabeth. She wants to know if it would be beneficial to write the description for your business with keywords similar to SEO settings. Do you need to worry about that in Google My Business?
Well, again, it's what Google's trying to do when someone is searching for something, they're trying to give them the best, most obvious choice. And for most of the local businesses, you don't have to do a lot of brain damage to come up with what are my keywords, right? You want to be very clear about what are the services that you offer. So if you have a service for so my business, for example, we have a service for strategy consulting project. So that has its own page that talks about that particular project. So the basic words that is going to narrow that. We have a web design page. We have a reputation management page. So those are each separate services, and then we talk about what those services are and what those entail. So those are pretty obvious to the visitor of the page what that means, and it makes it perfectly logical to Google what that means as well. But definitely you want it to tie in, like what you have here and what your website has should be really identical. There should be no difference between the two in terms of providing the right information so that Google understands what it is and so that your potential customers understand what it is. So you want to write first for the customer, and then secondarily, look at, okay, how do I optimize this best so Google understands it clearly? But Google's intention is that the person searching finds what they want to find. And they look at a lot of different signals. They look at how long do they spend on a page on your website. So when they put that search term in and they went to that page, did they spend some time there? So is the content on that page authoritative? Is it informational? Is it helpful? So focus first on the client, and you'll get all the SEO piece done right. But yeah, it should be pretty much the same from that standpoint. Good questions. All right, so this is a photo section. So you would think, it's not a big deal to put photos on Google. Well, as you can see here, Google actually tracks how many times these get viewed. So you can see when they were added, how long ago. I threw these on yesterday. You can see these are just some graphics that we have on our website. They've had a few views and just a variety of different pictures there. So it's one of the factors that Google uses to decide, what's the most relevant Google listing, business listing that I should display. And it's looking at how many pictures are there, how many people have looked at the pictures and done that. So you can update pictures to this every day, every week, show your different services and what it looks like. Anything that you have that you're doing in your business, the same kind of things that you might be posting on Facebook, you can post here. You can also do some video, which I tried to add a video just for this. Let's see if it shows up. I just recorded this video real quick earlier today and uploaded it. Short little video. So it could be like that.
Hi, this is Peter Brissette, Digital Marketing Dude, and just to let you know that the best way to work with us right now is to schedule a Zoom.
So you could have dozens of these videos on there that people could interact with in your listing. So let me just show you what that looks like. So I just did a search on my business name here, but it could have been a business category. But the listing will come up over here on the right side and show all the different information, address, reviews, and then images. And so if somebody wanted to interact with this, they go, oh, what are these images? And they're gonna go through that. So again, if you have compelling images, it's another way to attract someone's attention, to spend some time looking at your Google listing. So if I have to decide between the business that has pictures and the business that doesn't have pictures, I'm going to look at the one that has pictures. So again, look at what your competition's doing to see what else you might need to do there.
2 questions.
All right, so one key, very important section, in particular right now during the pandemic, is a couple of spots that Google's added just for the coronavirus. So let me get these things out of my way. So normally you have been able to add an update. An update is some basic text, could have an image and a link back to your website, can have some content. So these are links to a couple blog posts that I have. So you can add those updates. You can add a special offer. Let's say you're offering a discount right now for something or a coupon. You can add that offer. You can add an event, which is a date and time and place that you can post on there as well. This COVID-19 update is very specific to COVID-19. So if you wanted to post something related to that, so you can see this post I just did yesterday. It's a COVID-19 update, and it's just letting clients know that we're here to support you in whatever you need, and we can easily connect on a Zoom video chat to help you with your marketing needs. This might be, how are you handling social distancing in your business? This might be, how often are you cleaning? You might be talking about how you're taking appointments, how you're scheduling things out. So whatever's related to how you're managing in your business related to COVID-19, you want to put that here because this is the first thing that they're going to see when they're doing this search. So you can see here, that post is what it looks like when it's live out there on the web. So you can see when it was posted. So if you're doing this, maybe you have to do this every day. Here's an update on what's happening today. This is what's going on. People can see that that's the most recent and know that, okay, great. I know exactly what's happening there. I know when they're open. If you're a restaurant, you can actually show here, are you doing dine-in? Are you doing takeout? Are you doing delivery? You can see all of that information right there on the Google Business page as people search it.
Peter, I have a
So
feeling
post,
I know how you're
Yep.
going to answer this, but Michelle wants to know, how often do you recommend updating with posts and pictures and COVID updates?
So a basic update lasts for 7 days. So you can, so once a week would be kind of a minimum, right? If you want to keep something up there consistently. Events you can actually do from a time frame so that you can actually have them show up longer. But once a week would be kind of a minimum if you want to make sure you have extra content showing up there. But you could post as often as you need to. So if things are changing and adjusting and are happening as often is right now, then post more frequently as you need it. But ideally, the update kind of, you can see that I have past updates here that are in the system, but they don't show up here, right? Only that one that I posted yesterday. So it's usually about a 7-day window that these will actually show up on the actual page when people are doing searches.
That's great. And
Yep.
Teresa is asking, are there size limits for video uploads or photo uploads? Do you ever run out of space on?
Yeah, not a whole lot on the photos. I haven't tested the full video length. Shorter videos are going to be better, so 60 seconds or less in terms of length. But you can do high definition images with no problem, uploading them there. So it'll manage that.
Great.
So that's the update section. So that becomes super important in particular for right now with everything that's going on here. All right, let's go and let's talk about messaging here first. So I don't have this set up, but a local business can actually set up messaging. You have to turn this on. It's not on by default. And so that it'll show up here that you would be able to actually send a message to the business. So this is in particular in use on the phone for your customers. So to do that, you have to install the app on your phone. So I wanted to show you what that looked like. So you can see here, it's this My Business down here in the corner. So it has some basic stats there. We'll talk about that. But here you can update your business hours. You can all do this right from your phone. You can post updates. So if you're taking pictures with your phone and you want to update those pictures directly to the page, you can do that right through the app. You can create offers, you can create events. You can share the profile to get more reviews. And you can see all your reviews there. So again, here's your profile. And then if you had the messaging app turned on, you would be able to handle the messaging right through the app as well. But you pretty much can do everything directly on the app that you can do via the website. So I can update hours, links, information, all of that is available. You need to share your business profile. So again, there's that shortened link, g.page/teamdude. That was the one that we customized. Share that. So even here you can see if you're temporarily closed or permanently closed. So that would be where you would mark if you had a duplicate listing and you need to get rid of one, you would mark one of those then as permanently closed.
Peter, Benjamin's asking about that messaging app. He says, how is the messaging app acquired? So it's just, you just turn it on in the Google My Business, is that correct?
Yep, yeah, all you have to do is actually, within Google My Business, actually turn this on so that it's active. And then the app will then have that option then for the messaging. So you have to use the app going back and forth. So again, I don't always recommend that people use this just because who's the person in your business that's going to have the app, or you're going to have multiple people that have the app that can do the messaging. It's one of those things that if you're going to turn it on, you want to make sure that you're actually have someone using it, because you don't want to leave customers hanging if they're using the app or using the messaging. All right, let's talk about reviews. So of everything we've already talked about, this is the most important piece, is managing your reviews. So there's a couple things that you got to do to get more reviews. Number one is you need to ask for reviews. It's okay to ask nicely. If someone says, I really enjoyed working with you, your service is great, then ask, please go write me a review, because that's really going to help indicate to others what it's like doing business with me. People trust reviews because it's what someone else says about my business. And so you really want to be focusing on building out your Google reviews primarily. So this is why this page really becomes so critically important. So it's important for customers to go, oh, they're a good business, I can trust them. It's important for Google search. Google is going to give some preference to people that have a better overall rating in terms of reviews and a higher number of quantities. So if you're looking at your competition and your competition has 100 reviews and they have a 4.5 star rating, and you've got 50 reviews and a 4-star rating, they're going to win every time. So you're going to want to look at what your competition is doing. So you go, how many reviews should I have? More than your competition. That's how many you should have. So if you don't have that many, start building those. The other reason you want to be asking for reviews and getting positive reviews is that generally people are not as motivated to leave a positive review. They enjoy doing business with you, they like you, but it's not like, I got to go write a review. So asking them gently and kindly to go leave me a review is really important. Because the opposite thing is when something negative happens, like I'm mad, I'm super motivated, I'm going to go write a negative review. And so someone who's upset is far more motivated to go do that. So you want to make sure that you are asking for the good reviews so that you have a strong profile of positive reviews, because you know what? You're not going to make everybody happy. At some point, somebody's going to be upset. Maybe something didn't go right, and they might write you a negative review. It's even more of a challenge right now when you are trying to follow additional guidelines during a pandemic. And if a customer thinks you didn't follow the guidelines properly, and I've seen this with some of my clients already, that people are going and writing negative reviews about that. So you have even a tougher job than you had already. I got to prepare the food or prepare this service or get this job done or deliver this thing. And I also got to make sure that I'm complying with, the health regulations on top of that. So it becomes really super critical that you're asking for those positive reviews, you're asking your customers to help you out during this time, and to be getting those positive reviews. The other thing you want to make sure you do with all your reviews is make sure that you respond to them, positive and negative. You want to write a response to those. So again, Google is looking at this as a criteria of the search results. Are the reviews responded to? So you want to respond to them. I like to add a lot of extra words in there myself. So if you want to talk about adding SEO words, I add in SEO words. So here's a great example. Jay here, she left me a positive review. It's been great working with him. Well, she didn't say really anything about what we did. Well, I mean, we've been helping them with search engine optimization and some different things like that. So I went back and added some of the keywords that were related to the types of services that we provided to them. So it's really important to get those responses. If it's a bad review, a negative review, you don't want to fight it out there, in the reviews. Simply say, we're sorry that happened. We'd like to make this right. Here's our contact information. Please reach out to us so that we can take care of this. You don't want to debate, yes, this happened. No, it didn't happen. That kind of thing. The other thing that you're able to do with the reviews as well is you can actually flag these. So for some reason, it happens where someone got confused about your business compared to someone else's, and they wrote a bad review on your profile, but they're talking about somebody else. So you can actually flag that to Google and ask Google to remove it. They may or may not, but it's worth the attempt. So anytime you get a negative review, the first thing to do is go, is that my customer? Did we do business with them? Is there anything specific here that they're talking about that makes this an actual legitimate review? Sometimes you'll see someone just leaves a 1 star but no words. For the most part, Google will take those 1-star reviews and just completely disregard them, because they're like, well, we don't know why they did 1 star, because there's nothing, they're not saying anything about it. So it's not really a helpful review to have 1 star but no explanation of why it's 1 star. So a lot of times Google will just eliminate those automatically.
Peter, the questions are flooding in about reviews. Can you take a few?
Great, let's do it.
So Jennifer says, we have several clients. As I get this Google My Business page up and ask them to review the service that they received from me, should I space that request out, or does it matter if they all review in the same week, for example?
Excellent question, excellent question. I would attempt to space those out. You don't want to get like 4 reviews all in one day and then it's 4 months before you get more reviews. It's a little more organic that way, to be able to space them out a little bit over time. Again, it looks more organic, it looks better to the visitors, and it looks better to Google as well. So yeah, I would definitely try to space them out as much as possible if you can.
Great, great. Benjamin asks, can you hide reviews from bitter ex-employees and such?
Yeah, so this is a challenge on Google in particular. Again, this is why I go back to part of the reason why you must be asking your customers to give you the good reviews. Like, you have to actively be asking them to do it, because if you have employees, someone's not going to be happy when they get let go. So the answer is maybe. It depends on the content of the review. I have seen where, an ex-employee who's incredibly upset says all kinds of horrible things. It really becomes inflammatory and, too personal and too aggressive. Typically in that situation, it's not too hard to flag that to Google and get Google to take that down. Again, you want to flag it to Google, even if it's not that bad. Flag it to Google. It's an upset employee, ex-employee. Technically, it's not really a valid review because they don't work there anymore. So that's you just got to try to flag it and see if they'll remove it or not. And again, respond to it. Have a good response. Don't fight it out there, but post a positive response in terms of, I'm sorry you feel that way, please contact us. People want to see that you're at least reaching out. So even if there is a negative review, as long as you've done some outreach and put a reply, people are like, well, the business is trying. They're trying to remedy the situation with this person. The other place is really when it comes to employees that you want to be getting good reviews from your employees now that are happy, is Glassdoor and Indeed.com. Because a lot of times those are sites that people aren't really looking at in terms of monitoring those reviews and making sure that those are positive as well, because that really could be the poll of your future employees. And so you want to make sure that you're spending some time on that. Again, if you have a team, you have people working for you, that becomes really important to ask happy people that are working for you to write reviews on Indeed and Glassdoor. So again, if you got to let somebody go or something happens, you might get some negative reviews there. So that's my take on that.
Great. Just so I'm clear, can you respond to a review and flag it to Google at the same time?
I would flag it. Yes, you can do both.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then Rod wants to know, what is the process to flag it to Google? Is it easy to do?
So the easiest way to do it, the way I would normally do it, if you just go to the profile, to the reviews, and I got stuff floating in the way here. It is, whoops. So as you hover over this, you see this little flag. So it's not very obvious. But as you hover over this, you can see this little flag. And you can click on that, and they'll ask a couple of questions, and you can respond to it. One thing, and I don't talk about this very much, but again, why I think it's great to get good reviews, other people are going to read those, and other people can actually like that review. And the more people that like that review, the more favorable that Google views your profile. But yeah, you just got to go to the review itself and hover over it, and then you can click on flag and flag it.
Excellent. One more question on reviews.
Yep.
Nikki says, I don't have any reviews on Google, but it mentions reviews from the web like Houzz, which is an interior decor website.
Yep.
It lists how many 5-star reviews I have. Do I need to start sending my clients to Google instead?
So there's a couple of strategies you can do there. Houzz is great, in particular if you're working with them as kind of a partner, right? They're helping generate leads for you. So you definitely want to build those reviews on Houzz to help you with that. Long term, you want to get them on Google because that's going to help you in the more general search. So again, Houzz, you're kind of partnering. That's a strategic relationship. So good to have it there. But if it's on Google, you have a little bit more ownership of those reviews in terms of Google and what that looks like for your business long term. So I think it's okay if you start there, but long term, you should be starting to think about, how do I start building out reviews on Google as well to really build out, in terms of what that should look like. And again, look at what your competition is doing. Is your competition just on Houzz, or are they on Google too? So if in your search area that people are going to be looking for your type of business, see what your competition is doing, and you want to be able to at least compete with them. Great questions, guys. Let's see. Anything else on that?
This one came in from Carol, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily a review question, but she's asking,
sure.
What are privacy concerns for customers and businesses on Google My Business?
Well, so it's like any other website, essentially. If you're on Facebook and you have a Facebook profile and you write a review on somebody's business page, then your name is associated with that. On Google, it's the same thing. you have to have a Google account to leave a review. Now, that Google account can look a lot of different ways. You can look at some of the reviews that I've had. So this particular client, I could tell you her name. I mean, it's not private, but she didn't use an account that showed her name. She used an account that showed their business. That's fine. Julie, well, it really was a business that we worked with, not her personally, but she used her personal profile to do that. Paisley Park. I don't know what that name is. It has nothing to do with the business. They're part of an association, but they have a Google profile that doesn't use their actual name. So it's kind of up to the individual on how they want to set up their profile and how they want to respond. If they're worried about that, people will, use a different profile for that.
Great. And then one other question that we have is going back to posts. And Michelle asks, is there any way to pin a post? For example, the COVID-19 update.
Yeah, again, they kind of have a 7-day lifespan in terms of showing up in the search results. So there's not really a way to pin it. That'd be awesome, but they don't have that. The other thing I forgot to mention here is this COVID support. So a lot of times your business, maybe you can't, I mean, a lot of businesses were closed for a while, but you can use this to post messages and offer, links for people to be able to buy gift cards or donate to your business. So that's another option for you if for some reason you have very severe, restrictions right now. You can be offering a way for people to buy gift cards. And I know a lot of businesses have been surviving and have survived just by being able to offer those gift cards.
Great. Hey, questions are coming in. So Lisa wants to know, Lisa says, our wonderful SBDC process engineer consultant, thank you for the pump up there, is encouraging us to do blog posts. Should we do the same ones on our website and on Google?
So the way that I would do it is create the blog post on your website and then use the post here to link to that blog post. So you can post that. So that's this one here that I have is check out our latest blog post. And the link that I have, if you click on this, takes you back to my website, to the blog post on the website. So that's really, and anything that you're doing, you want to create the content on your website, whether that's Google, maybe you share it on Facebook, maybe you share it on LinkedIn, wherever it is you're going to share it, you want to drive traffic always back to your website.
Got it. Nikki wants to know, can I easily send a link to someone I'm asking to do a review for my business on Google?
Yeah. The simplest way, if you've created the short link, let's see here, easiest for me to find it. I think I can get it off this home page. I'm gonna move some stuff out of the way here. So right here on the main home page, there's share review form.
Perfect.
And so again, it shows you that link. So you can copy that link. You can send it via email. You can post that right back to Facebook. But that's the link that you can use to share out, to get asked for reviews on Google.
Let's see. Jennifer wants to know, this is the $1 million question. What is the best way to have a business come up first in a Google search over other businesses in the same category?
Well, so if we're talking same category, the first thing you got to look at is how many reviews, how many pictures, have they responded to the reviews, is the profile completely filled out? So if they're ahead of you in all those categories, it's not going to be you, it's going to be them. So that's where you want to start and why you want to spend that time building out the Google My Business page. The other piece of that then is also the website. So how well is their website built? Is it optimized for search as well? Over time, those two things kind of get connected and work together. But look at the most obvious things first. How many reviews do they have? What's their overall star ratings? Do they have pictures? Things like that. So those are going to be the most obvious factors that you can clearly look at and see who's coming up first in a Google search like that.
Wonderful. And here's another one. Rod wants to know, for therapy clients that submit a review, are there guidelines for privacy concerns in the response?
Therapy can be a really tough category for getting reviews on Google. I do have one client that we work with that does some very specific types of therapies, and I'm very impressed with the kind of reviews that he's able to get. Again, it's the individual being willing to share. They can say they had a positive experience without going into detail about what their situation was. And so there's really no way for someone to know that. But people are obviously very sensitive about sharing that. Again, it might be a conversation that you have with them specifically on an individual basis to go, all right, here's the results that you've had. How do you feel about that? Are you willing to share this, with somebody and at least talk about your experience in working with me? And you may want to create maybe a template of here's the key points that really matter, so you can say something positive without indicating, what the issue was. Again, depending on what it is, it may not be something somebody wants to make public, but they can still talk positively about their experience with you. But it is more difficult, without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay, Michelle has a triage question here. If you don't have a whole lot of time to maintain a website, would you say it's best to spend marketing time on Google, Facebook, or what other platform? How do you rank it?
Well, so here's my basic consulting that we talk about this. I think it's important to start with what you own, and the thing that you own is your website. You have 100% control of that, and so it's worth spending time and investment on that in terms of the long-term success of your business. Everything else is rented. I'm renting space on Facebook, even if I have a free Facebook page. Facebook decides how that works. Google is a pretty close second because there's a lot that I can do there, but at the end of the day, Google owns that. And if for some reason I lose that or something happens, I need to have where the authoritative sources of everything related to my business. And the only place you can do that is your website. You own your website, you own your images, you own your branding, you own your unique messaging and what makes you a good business. Like, that's what you own. So build that out as much as you possibly can. I know you have to make choices about budget, time, and spending. Always at least put some time and some budget towards the website. And then who's my ideal client? Where are they? And then spend time there. I would pick one platform that's going to be the best. If your clients are consumers and not other businesses, then pick one platform. Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Facebook, but don't try to do both. Do one or the other, and get really, really, really good at that. Get that dialed in. Once you dial that in, then you can expand that. But really look at who your customers are, and how you want to do the outreach. Make your website the home. It's the asset that you own, where you're always driving information back to that, and your email list. Am I getting new emails? How am I doing that and building my email list with that? So that was a longer answer than anticipated, but yeah, some basic marketing.
Great. And speaking of being short on time, we're coming up on our hour, folks. So if you have any final questions, do send them in. We're going to wrap this up at noon. Peter, Jennifer wants to know, what is your opinion of Google Ads? Is that worth paying for?
Yeah. Google Ads is still an effective means for reaching clients. It is complex. It's not necessarily simple, but it's still a very effective means of being able to reach your clients. So again, it's one of those things, you got to try things, test it, write good app copy, word in the landing pages. There's a lot that goes through that to do that. Real quick, I just want to show you here, there's an insights that will actually show you some of the keywords that people are using to search to find your site. You can see how often you showed up in search results. How did they interact with the page? Did they click on directions? Did they make a phone call? It only tracks calls through mobile on this, which is why I recommend using a tracking phone number, but at least gives you some additional data that you can look at related to your Google My Business page and what's happening there. This is separate from what Google Analytics would show. Just want to get that in there.
Yeah, thank you. Rod is asking if there's a website platform that works best with Google My Business, iPage, Wix.
So when it comes to platform, early on, I'm not too worried about it. Again, you can optimize your Google My Business page and get the basics done with your website. But Squarespace is a good platform. Wix is okay. If either you or you're willing to pay someone to work with WordPress, WordPress has some challenges to it, but it's a great platform for building websites on once you really are dedicated and want to do it. But using the basic Wix or Weebly or Squarespace, initially getting started, totally fine.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, well, lots of folks chiming in just to say thank you for the information. And, I'd like to piggyback on that as well. Thank you, Peter. This has been very
great questions today. Really good audience. Thank you.
You bet. Couple announcements to wind up. It is noon, so we're going to close it out here. Once again, big thank you to City of Westminster and the Economic Development Office there. Their WestyRISE Initiative is aimed at helping all the Westminster businesses to, recover and withstand, let's say, the COVID. And so we're really grateful for them to sponsor this presentation. You can find out more about the offerings from the SBDC at our website, northmetrosbdc.com. You can make an appointment with Peter there or any of our business consultants, depending on what your needs are. We have experts that can talk to you about digital marketing. We also have folks that can talk to you about finance, startup concerns, legal concerns, you name it. So check out your North Metro SBDC or your local SBDC if you're not from this area. And then please visit Peter at his website, dmdude.com. And thank you for your time and your attention and for all the great questions. It's been a great presentation. We really appreciate it. Last words, Peter?
Again, thank you. Dedicated to this community. If you guys have any questions, do contact the SBDC office. Cost you nothing as a business to spend some time, and we can dig into specifics in your business. So happy to help you.
You bet. Thanks a lot. All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Thank you for your time and attention.